What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about Healthier Choices Management, ticker is HCMC. Management actually did give a update for their whole spin-off company. So I want to break it down, what it's saying, and things that you need to know. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So as you can see right here, February the 14th, they did give an update. So Healthier Choices Management Corp announces confidential submission of registration statement for the spin-off of its natural foods, grocery, and wellness businesses. So in general, I think that is fairly good that they're giving an update. They also do give a time frame, a little bit more of a realistic one, of the first half of 2023. That's when they're expecting for the spinoff to actually take effect and so forth, which of course in August of 2022, they did initially say that they wanted it done by the tail end of 2022. So of course that wasn't very realistic if you want to consider it that way. But based on what I've been able to provide you, it does appear as though HCMC did in fact start to buy back shares. So that is step one of their 4-point plan. So in general, they're moving in the right direction, or at least they were. The other three were very much dependent on this new spinoff. And it's interesting to see that they actually do give a ticker, so HCWC. So not that creative, very basic. So Healthy Choices Wellness Center, if I am just saying it out loud, who knows, or NewCo, I don't know. They haven't really provided that much information. One interesting thing is, on my last video, I did say most likely one thing that was holding it all up was they didn't really meet the qualifications to actually get listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Rather, they should just go the NASDAQ route. But once again, they do reiterate that they want to go on the New York Stock Exchange. So I'm not necessarily sure why. Maybe they want to go on there for credibility purposes, because I think typically New York Stock Exchange, even though it does have higher fees, is kind of sought out in a different viewpoint rather than NASDAQ stocks. Typically, a lot of people say, well, a lot of OTC stocks just go down to the NASDAQ, which of course, because it is the easier route. So once again, it's interesting to see that. On a side note though, a lot of people in the past have told me and asked, well, how do I keep HCMC? Because I like HCMC. I like, for instance, the vape store, the qcup, things like that, the intellectual properties as well. Or maybe you just got in because of the whole lawsuit and you want to live through that experience potentially. I don't know. But it does say right here, upon consummation of the spinoff, if completed, HCMC stockholders as of record date for the separation will receive all of the initial issued shares of common stock of HCWC. HCWC intends to apply for listing to the NASDAQ American Exchange. So in reality, I don't know how you are going to keep HCMC. You might actually just get a dividend and spin off into this new HCWC, and you might just have to physically buy back into HCMC. I'm not really sure the breakdown of that. If you guys do know, let me know in the comments below and hopefully educate myself and others. I have obviously said in the past that it's a little bit more ambiguous. I thought that you'd have to contact your broker and say that you don't want to roll your shares out or you don't want to receive a dividend. I'm not really sure how that will actually work if you physically do like HCMC. But still, I think HCMC has really gone down quite a lot on the other aspects of their business and only have focused on this kind of aspect right here. So I don't know if there is any individuals still in HCMC that do value, for instance, the qcup vape store. On a side note on that kind of point, I noticed that they do not include the actual vitamin store. And I would have assumed that is one asset that they're also taking with them to this new HCWC. So it's interesting that they don't include that. Maybe they're leaving that because it's not profitable. I'm not really sure, because it does indicate right here they're kind of moving the brick and mortar stores. So that obviously would not include any online component of that, so including the vitamin store. So who knows what they're trying to do behind the scenes in reality based on the profit margins. I feel like they're really moving all the unprofitable companies to this new company and leaving all the aspects of the business that do have fat profit margins with HCMC that they haven't really been pursuing, because like I've already said in the past, I personally got in because of the qcup. I did reduce majority of my position. I still do have some. I increased that slightly, only because I was able to catch 0.001. or 0001. But at the end of the day, profit margins, for instance, on the qcup was roughly about 40%, if not higher. Then there was the vape store, that was around 30%. Then there is the vitamin store. I think that is around, just based on basic Google searches, I think it's around 25 to 30% as well. So in general, all the big fat profit margins is going to be left with HCMC. But once again, it's good to see a update because I think it's been several months since they've actually updated. I think it was in October when they did commence the actual buyback, share buyback. But on a side note as well, just looking on Fintel, I just want to show you this. So it does look like there is 2 new positions, and obviously based on the SEC, there is these 13D/A forms that was submitted. So as you can see right here, it looks like Jeffrey Holman does now have 48 billion shares of HCMC. So of course that is absolutely huge. It goes to show that maybe they're really trying to have enough sufficient shares for that spinoff. So once again, validating that they are actually doing something behind the scenes. And then Christopher Santi, if I'm saying his name correctly, has 23.6 billion. And of course, there was another 13D/A that was submitted for that for Christopher Santi right here. So in general, I think that's a pretty good thing, at least that they're moving in the right direction. Volume for the most part has been holding up. So volume from yesterday, it is pre-market right now, so there's no real volume. But what did happen on Wednesday, 230.9 million shares being traded. The average is 197. So I think in general, a lot more people are still getting into HCMC, still trading it. And it's not always necessarily shorts, as you can tell. Over the last little bit, basically since it was announced, so on the 15th or more so on the 14th, right here, it was at roughly about 40% of the actual traded volume for HCMC was shorts. But what will actually have to happen is any short position will have to close out the position prior to this new rollout. So you might actually see a very big spike up, which of course would confuse a hell of a lot of people, but there's a lot of shorts in HCMC as of right now, because I think that they were very much anticipating a reverse split. And of course, if that does happen, then they have a whole new bottom potentially that they could drag it down to. But I think at the end of the day, if this does actually work, because it does say right here, if completed. So still not fully guaranteed that this will work, but like I said, if this does actually work, shorts will have to close out the positions. So I think that might be a positive sign for those investors that maybe don't like this new spinoff HCWC and maybe want to get out. Well, there might be a little bit more of a short squeeze prior to this. So let me know your thoughts on all of that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on HCMC or HCWC, whatever floats your boat.